he's taken like a severe psychological and I guess philosophical turn. There's a bunch of like interviews and clips of him discussing things where you're like, whoa, like this guy he's not talking like Jim Carrey, the world famous A-list actor. He's like talking like some guy who's just trying to sort of understand his place in the universe. He's just thought about life and things. He must have had like some psychedelic experiences too.
For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile.
Joe Rogan has never been one to hold back, but this time he had a dire warning for none other than Jim Carrey.
Because he's just talking about like what matters and what doesn't matter.
Something's definitely off, because Joe thinks Hollywood has messed with Jim in ways we can't even imagine. Mentally, physically, the whole deal.
Because there is no me, no self. Jim Carrey is gone, actually never existed, and I know that now. So I'm able to take gigantic chances with this thing that people know.
And here's the thing. No one really took Jim seriously when he started opening up about his experiences in the industry. What exactly has Jim gone through behind the scenes?
Hollywood didn't want him no more because he did this thing called Duck Soup that bombed. Or Duck something, Duck Factory, and it bombed. And so they were cold on him.
It seems like Hollywood's glittering facade hides some disturbing secrets, and Rogan believes Carrey might have gotten too close to the fire. But why wasn't anyone paying attention when he started to change? Could this be another case of Hollywood chewing someone up and spitting them out? Let's find out.
The people that think outside of the norm say it in like whispered, hushed tones. There's a certain ideology that's attached to that city, and it's not logical.
It seems like Joe has been trying to give Jim a heads up about all the shady stuff that allegedly happened behind the curtain in Hollywood, especially when he talked about the pressure actors face just to stay in the game.
The pressure of that gig is just so crazy.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the same pressure Jim also had to deal with during his prime time in the industry. But why? Over the last few years, Jim has been increasingly vocal about the sketchy things he's witnessed in the entertainment industry. And let's be real, he's been in the game long enough to know what goes down behind those closed doors. But every time he tries to speak out, it seems like Hollywood is ready to shut him down. Is it because Jim knows something bigger that they don't want the public to hear about?
I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies.
Jim isn't exactly a stranger to controversy, but in recent years, it seems like the industry is specifically trying to silence him. We've seen the interviews. He's been hinting at the deeper issues in Hollywood for a while now. He's called it a machine that chews people up and spits them out. He's talked about the fake smiles, the hidden agendas, and the creepy underbelly of fame. But for every statement he makes, the backlash is immediate.
Talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track.
And that's what Joe said during his podcast. He emphasized how Hollywood actors often feel compelled to shape their personalities to align with the expectations of those who hold the power to grant them roles in movies. He said, in Hollywood, the problem is that you're chosen for everything. So you're being cast in these things. You have to deal with people that approve you or pick you. So you're formulating your personality based on whatever the zeitgeist is, whatever the ideology of most of the producers are. But why? What is Jim saying that's hitting so close to home for the industry? It's almost as if they're afraid he's going to expose something even bigger than what's already been revealed. We know that Hollywood is no stranger to scandals. Just look at the Harvey Weinstein situation. But if Jim Carrey, someone who's been part of the Hollywood elite for decades, is speaking out, then we must pay attention to it.
I don't exist. So they're all characters that I've played, including Jim Carrey, including Joel Barish, including any of those things. They're all characters.
Well, cancel culture is running rampant in Hollywood right now. We've seen so many celebrities get taken down for speaking their minds or for getting caught up in something controversial. And Jim Carrey seems to be teetering on that edge. He's been targeted before, but lately, it feels like the industry has made him one of its main targets. He's been called crazy, ridiculed in the media, and even sidelined from major projects. Why? Because he's not playing by Hollywood's rules anymore. And shockingly, this is what Martin Freeman said about Jim, who even worked with him in a movie as well.
And I'm sure, genuinely sure, Jim Carrey is a lovely and smart person, but it was the most self-aggrandizing, selfish, narcissistic bollocks I've ever seen.
Freeman never really got into the nitty-gritty, but it was obvious that Jim Carrey rubbed him the wrong way. And this isn't the first time we've heard something like this. Tommy Lee Jones had his own issues with Jim. After working together on Batman Forever, Jones actually admitted that he couldn't stand Carrey. Jim even shared that story with the late Norm Macdonald during an intervy.
And he got up and he went like this, and he went like to hug me, and he said, "I hate you. I really don't like you."
You'd never guess this kind of drama was brewing behind the scenes, especially since Tommy Lee Jones was holding his own in every scene with Jim Carrey in Batman Forever. But this is just one of the actors who's had beef with Jim. You can bet there are plenty more out there. It probably has a lot to do with how good Jim is at stealing the spotlight. In anything he does, it's tough to outshine Jim Carrey in a scene, so it makes sense that some actors might get frustrated when they're no longer the center of attention, especially if they've been the stars their whole lives. Incidents like these could have definitely contributed to Jim distancing himself from Hollywood later in his career.
I could have done several sequels with several characters, but I felt like that, life is too short. I want to move on. I want to create. I want to annoy people that are, businessmen that want to take advantage of me.
Is this just cancel culture doing its thing, or is there something deeper going on? It might be possible that Jim hit a nerve with the people in power, and now they're working overtime to discredit him. He's hinted at it before in interviews, talking about how the entertainment industry is built on manipulation, lies, and the exploitation of talent. He's called out the superficiality of it all, the way celebrities are used to push certain agendas, and how once you stop playing the game, you're discarded. Fast forward to today, and Jim's been on a spiritual journey, far removed from that world of flashy cars and fake smiles. This new perspective has given him the ability to call out the hypocrisy and toxic vibes in Hollywood. Take Will Smith's slap incident at the Oscars, for example. While most people were quick to point fingers at Will, and yeah, he was definitely in the wrong, Jim's focus wasn't just on him. His real frustration was aimed at the culture in Hollywood that made Will think he could get away with that kind of behavior.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless.
But what if Jim has seen things or knows about secrets that go beyond what we've already heard? We've seen other stars speak out about how Hollywood has a dark side. Ricky Gervais made headlines for his brutally honest Golden Globes monologue calling out the hypocrisy in the room. He didn't hold back. He ripped into the hypocrisy of the industry, calling out celebrities for acting all morally superior while living these lavish, disconnected lives. He even called out some of the big executives for preaching ethics while running shady business practices behind the scenes. Ricky had the whole room squirming, and you could feel the tension as he laid out the ugly truth about Hollywood's double standards. And it was all directed to freshly released Jeffrey Epstein's court documents. Ricky had called out the stars in attendance for being friends with Jeffrey Epstein and said, "In this room are some of the most important TV and film executives in the world, from all different backgrounds. But they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow, famous journalist. He's coming for you." He was warning that no one was going to leave, and now seems like Jim proves to be the threat for this industry. He seems to be suggesting that there's something even worse going on, and every time he tries to address it, he gets shut down. What's even more concerning is how Jim's retreat from Hollywood seems to have taken a toll on him personally. Friends and fans have noticed a dramatic change. This was the guy who lit up every room, the guy who made people laugh for years, the life of the party. But now, he's apparently holed up, living in self-isolation, barely a shadow of the man we once knew. Ever since he stepped back in 2022 to focus on his art, he's been out of the public eye, and people are worried. Is it just the toll of fame, or is there something bigger going on behind the scenes?
And depression is your body saying, "F you, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you've created."
We've seen this kind of thing before. Celebrities who get too close to the truth suddenly become reclusive, their careers fade, and they just disappear. Look at Dave Chappelle, for instance. Dave Chappelle has seen the good and the ugly side of Hollywood, and he has a few stories to tell about what really goes on behind the scenes. One thing is for sure, Hollywood isn't as sparkling and glamorous as it appears from afar. And if there's anyone who always knew it, it was Dave. He knew all the money in the world wouldn't be enough compensation for what the Hollywood big bosses do to you.
So much money, how could you do that, and blah, blah, blah. But you know, if I had taken that money and finished the show, I would have got the money, but I might never have been the same.
Dave knew that his audience were smart people who understood the intricacies of race and bigotry, but Comedy Central had other plans. They didn't want to upset the bigots or the racists.
I was doing sketches that were funny, but socially irresponsible. I felt like I was deliberately being encouraged.
But Dave could not accept this. This went against everything he believed in as an artist and performer. Chappelle spoke about this lack of freedom of speech in an interview and said, "Art is a powerful commodity. An artist, if you're good at it, should never behave as a commodity. My biggest gripe with this whole controversy with The Closer is that you cannot report on an artist's work and remove artistic nuance from his words. It would be like if you were reading a newspaper and they say man shot in the face by a 6-foot rabbit expected to survive, and they never tell you it's a Bugs Bunny cartoon." Comedy Central not only limited his freedom of speech, they even ripped him off. The network refused to pay him the money he was owed.
People think I made a lot of money for Chappelle's show. When I left that show, I never got paid. They didn't have to pay me because I signed the contract.
When Comedy Central offered Dave $50 million for a third season, he refused. Even after Dave refused the offer, Comedy Central wouldn't just let this pass. In fact, they came after him and tried to destroy his reputation. He talked about this many years later in his comedy special. If you quit a show like Chappelle's show, I don't know if you know what happens to you professionally, but I'll tell you what doesn't happen. They don't just say, well, good luck in your future endeavors. With that media, they beat me up. With their power, they tried to make me behave. It takes a strong person to stand out in the cold like that. When Dave realized that Comedy Central had done more harm to him than even Fox Network had, he was heartbroken but not hopeless. So he came to his community to ask for help.
I said, I'm going to my real boss, and I came to you because I know where my power lies.
So he had to walk away and go off the grid, and later came back talking about how the entertainment industry can be a toxic, manipulative place. Could Jim be going through something similar? Could he be paying the price for speaking out? Let's be real. Hollywood is an industry that thrives on image, and anyone who messes with that image gets pushed out. Jim Carrey isn't just your average actor, but now it feels like Hollywood is doing everything it can to make us forget about him. Why? Because he's talking about things that nobody in the industry wants to talk about, and his fans think the same. One of them wrote, "Jim always pulled off being a beacon of light and laughter. Great, his journey has gone deeper." Another one added, "Jim is a wise old soul who has found a new path to being a good human being. Bless you, Jim." In a recent episode of JRE, Joe Rogan had a fun reunion with his longtime buddy and former JRE producer, Brian Redban. These old pals swapped stories and reminisced about their adventures. Joe got into how Los Angeles is like no other place in the U.S. and even shared some wild tales from a birthday party thrown by the famous model and actress Naomi Campbell. For those who don't know, Naomi also made headlines for her relationship with Iron Mike Tyson. According to Rogan, that party was straight up bizarre. Rogan kicked things off by talking about life in LA, saying, "Living your life in LA can be really bad for the psycho. There's no weather, everyone's trying to get famous, and you're also dealing with these strange people." He then dove into a crazy experience he had at a party as an example of the weirdness in LA. "I went to this bizarre party once in the Hollywood Hills with Chappelle," he shared. So it's not hard to imagine that Jim Carrey's outspokenness has cost him just like Chappelle. After all, how many other celebrities have been brave enough to say what he said? He's mentioned before that he's tired of the fake smiles, the backstabbing, and the manipulation that comes with Hollywood fame. But by saying these things, it feels like he's been punished. He hasn't been canceled in the traditional sense, no major scandals or public disgrace. But instead, he's been pushed out, almost like Hollywood is erasing him from the narrative.
You know what they're trying to do?
Who?
This thing is buzzing. Hold on. They're trying to turn us into, consumer drones of some sort. Hold on, I just got to get this.
And it's not just his career. If the rumors about his self-isolation are true, it seems like even his mental health has taken a hit. Jim has opened up about his own experiences with depression and how those experiences have changed over the years. Describing himself as sometimes happy, the actor-comedian told me, "At this point, I don't have depression. There is not an experience of depression. I had that for years, but now, when the rain comes, it rains, but it doesn't stay. It doesn't stay long enough to immerse me and drown me anymore." Though he did not directly reference the matter, he reflected more generally on his life experiences, stating, "What's happening is really good, but there is some really bad in there too. Some people have come at me in the last couple of years with the intent of breaking off a piece of the Holy Grail for themselves, but the Grail isn't a thing that you can break off. I'm perfectly fine with everything that has happened, even the horrible shitty, in life and in art. There is a lot of satisfaction about looking back at those things." On the other hand, Jim's been making waves, subtly calling out the Illuminati, hinting that they're the ones pulling the strings behind the scenes, not just in Hollywood, but in our everyday lives. It's wild to think about, right? There's no solid proof that the Illuminati exists today, but that hasn't stopped conspiracy theorists from speculating about which celebs might be in on it. True believers are always quick to point out evidence, claiming they can spot hidden messages in everything from a star's outfit to how they pose for photos. And Jim seemingly mocked that the whole of Hollywood is a part of it.
You don't know what it is. You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know.
We don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is.
Some examples might seem more convincing than others, like song lyrics that directly mention the Illuminati. But most of the time, the so-called proof is pretty far-fetched, like a hairstyle that happens to have a sharp angle. Still, it's fun to follow along and see which celebs are rumored to be part of the Illuminati, and what supposed clues they've dropped along the way. But if you ask the internet who's running the Illuminati, the first name that always pops up is Beyoncé, the secret society's supposed queen. She let the rumors swirl for years before finally addressing them in her song, Formation. She said, "Y'all haters corny with that Illuminati mess." Even though she denied being involved, conspiracy theorists are still out there, watching her every move for any new clues. And if Bey is the queen, then Jay-Z's the king, right? Together, they're supposedly grooming the next generation of Illuminati royalty. People have been calling them members ever since Jay flashed his Rock Nation hand sign with his palms making a triangle shape. The rumors have only gotten louder since. Jay even addressed the whole thing on Rick Ross's track, Freemason, back in 2010, saying, "I said I was amazing. Not that I'm a Mason and I'm red hot, I'm on my third six, but a devil I'm not." Still, if you think a couple of lyrics denying it would stop the conspiracy theories, you'd be wrong. The rumors keep coming. In 2014, Madonna dropped a track called Illuminati on her Rebel Heart album, with the chorus repeating, "It's like everybody in this party is shining like Illuminati." She was quick to explain that she was using the word in its old school sense, meaning enlightened, and not referencing the secret society from the Enlightenment era. Our take? Whether she's in or not, it was definitely a strategic move to throw the I word out there so casually. She knew exactly what she was doing, and sure enough, here we are still talking about it years later. Well played, Madge. After the Carters, the Wests are probably the next in line on the Illuminati hierarchy, at least according to conspiracy theorists. But unlike Beyoncé and Jay-Z, Kim Kardashian seems to enjoy stirring the pot. She thrives on it. Anytime new Illuminati rumors come her way, she subtly keeps the gossip going, whether she's stepping out in a satanic red outfit or posting an Instagram collage shaped like the all-seeing eye. Careful, Kim. Keep playing with fire, and you might just risk your membership. And this is what Jim has been talking about, that there are secret societies in Hollywood who work with the government. So if he's dropping hints about the Illuminati scripting our every move, it makes you wonder, does he know something the rest of us don't?
I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it.
Fans of Carrey swear that after he started speaking up, Hollywood basically strong-armed him into retiring. It's like the industry wanted him gone. Too many dangerous ideas, too much truth slipping out. On Shannon Sharp's club, Shay Shay, Marlon Wayans dropped a surprising story about how his brother Keenan helped save Jim Carrey's career at a tough time. Marlon said that after Jim's 1984 NBC sitcom, The Duck Factory, flopped and got canceled after just one season, Jim hit a pretty rough patch. But that's when Keenan stepped in and gave Jim the boost he needed to bounce back and said, Hollywood didn't want him anymore. They were cold on him. The network didn't want him. With Jim's career looking pretty bleak, Keenan saw something others didn't. After Jim went to an audition that Marlon's brother Damon set up, Keenan was sold. "He's hilarious," Marlon recalled Keenan saying, and from there, the rest is history. Recently, Joe has also returned with yet another eye-opening revelation, this time shedding light on the questionable practices of casting agents in Hollywood when selecting female talent. As anticipation mounts, many are eagerly awaiting his next revelation.
Well, this was the f***ed up thing was she wasn't in any way overweight. Like, she was beautiful. She had a great body. It was just like she was an actress.
But then, like a flick of a switch, Jim wasn't in the spotlight anymore. Sure, he stepped away to focus on his art, but there's something about his exit that feels off. Could it be that Hollywood, or maybe the powers behind Hollywood, wanted him silenced before he exposed too much? Well, fans do have their own opinion about Jim's situation, as one of them wrote. "It's cool that Jim literally says whatever he wants and doesn't matter what Hollywood does. He is so set and one of the most famous actors of all time. Burning Hollywood on his way out is something I bet a lot of stars wish they could do, but can't." Jim Carrey has always been known for his eccentricity, but since shifting his focus to art and stepping away from Hollywood, he seems more withdrawn. And luckily, Joe pointed out that his mental state seems to be affected.
He's taken like a severe psychological and I guess philosophical turn. He must have had like some psychedelic experiences too.
The dark side of Hollywood isn't exactly a secret. Stories of exploitation, of power, and shady deals abound. But what if Jim is on the brink of exposing something bigger? He's talked about the entertainment industry as a facade that masks a grim reality, and history shows that anyone who dares to pull back the curtain often gets canceled. Yet Jim is still standing and speaking out, refusing to play by Hollywood's rules, which raises the question, what is it that the industry doesn't want him to say? Will he be silenced like others before him, or will he finally have the chance to share his truth? If his suspicions about the industry hold any weight, we might be looking at a lot more darkness behind the glitz and glamour than we ever imagined. That's it for today, folks. Until next time, goodbye.